Hello, everybody. Welcome to the How to Get People from Your Community Coming to Your Church for Fall Programming webinar. My name is Jody Holloway.
Hello, I'm Nate Streeter.
Classic. For those of you who have been to our webinars before, you know that Nate always chimes in with his greeting of hello. So we're really excited today. We're going to talk about this fall programming push, and the reality is we've both been around churches enough to know that really attendance over the summer is shot. People are at the lake, they're out on a picnic, they're up at the cabin. They are not always around, which means that going into the fall, you're looking at going, my attendance is down, my budget is down.
Yeah, the giving during the summer is what really, even if people come, they don't necessarily give as much. And
that's exactly right. So we're going to talk about two practical techniques to build that attendance. And so the first one is to create a strategy that's buzzworthy. And really that takes some timing. It takes some effort, some planning. You've got to put in some effort to make sure that what you are doing is worthy of a buzz. Are people going to be able to talk about it? Are they going to be able to get excited about it? So
yeah, I mean, it used to be way back in the day, you'd be able to use your PR generator. I know churches probably don't tend to think about this, but in these terms, but you didn't have money for marketing, so you'd spend energy on PR and get, you had something exciting to say, and so you'd send it to all the newspapers and the news agencies in hopes that they would cover it, and you'd sort of get free marketing that way.
Sure.
Well, obviously, lots and lots of people do that now. So now all the news agencies are getting barraged with these kind of reports, but you can create your own buzz. And the thing is, there's lots of ideas we have. We talked about some of them in our meeting earlier, Jody. Did you want to go over those now? I think we have time.
Yeah, we can talk about some of the things that depending on one of the things I know that Nate, you and I talked about quite a bit is some of the polarizing issues with churches, and you might be on one side or the other, and that's why we call it polarized.
Right. So if you so we're talking about creating buzz. So how do you get people in the community talking about your church or about your programming or about what you're doing? So that's the premise. We're going to start from there. How in the world do we get people talking about us without us having to pay to get a message out? So the thing that we're going to look at, so what Jody's kind of hinting at is, let's say your church is very, what's the words that they pro-family, or maybe pro equal rights. I think those would be the two ways that each side would want to be talked about as each other.
Sure.
Okay, so one side would be, so let's say you're definitively, you want equal rights for all people, whether they're regardless of their sexual preferences. You could put a piece together, put a whole advertising campaign together that really focused on that could go very viral, and people would talk about it. And so that's what Jody's talking about as far as polarizing, or on the opposite side of it too.
Absolutely.
Depending on how passionate you are about that subject, that may or may not make sense.
And here we are, we're doing a church webinar for church leaders and church pastors, and some of you are going to be on one side of that equation, and others of you are going to be on the other side.
Yeah.
And it is something that whichever side you're on, you're likely to be very, very passionate about that and about your stance and your view on that. So when we're talking about marketing, obviously we're a company, and we want to make sure that we represent you and your beliefs and what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So something like that really is, that's going to create a buzz. It may create a buzz. Just us talking about it today may create a buzz in your office. Well, I went to a church webinar, church marketing webinar, and this is one of the things they talked about. It's one of the things that society is talking about. So use that, whichever side of the equation you're on that, you want to use that and say, hey, this is where we stand. This is what our position is. And you're going to make waves in your community. Waves are going to happen.
Yeah, so let me use some other examples, because that's one way, but I think there's lots better ways. So we're going to talk the part of this practical technique. We're going to talk about energizing your base in a little bit here, but I want to kind of hint at that a little bit, only in the sense that what you want to do. Let's say you want to do a prayer walk, and that's something that you look at.
Sure.
So you just, this is what the average church does. They put it in their church bulletin. Maybe they call a couple people that they think are interested in prayer, whatever. And then they scratch their head why hardly anybody comes or hardly anybody's interested in it.
Right.
There's no buzz around it. There's no excitement. Let's say, I live, you know my story, Jody, and for those of you who don't, email me. I love to tell my story, but Lee and I, we grew up in North Minneapolis, and we're very passionate about this area. So let's say you put together, rather than just a prayer walk, you said, look, we're going to pray for every single home in the Falwell neighborhood.
Right.
And then, and we need your help to do it.
Okay.
So you have a very definite goal.
Absolutely.
People can grab onto that.
Yep.
Not only that, you can even give them strategies on how they can help. You live in Falwell. Can you pray for 3 blocks? We need you, so you need to walk down 1 block each direction from your house, including your own block.
Sure.
Will you do it?
Absolutely.
It's like 90 homes or something like that, right? Need you to pray for the 90 homes right around your block.
Right.
So do you see the difference? How that creates a different level of buzz? How that creates a different... So that's part of how strategy can make such a big difference. You have a whole different level of engagement then. And so when you're talking about marketing and outreach, when you talk about, we're going to save 10 marriages this fall, that's very different than just having a marriage seminar, 8, 10, we're going to save 10 marriages in our community this fall. Can you get people in your congregation around you? Can you get people excited about something like that? That's how you create buzz. And it could be on a whole variety of different things. It reminds me of the pastor I talked to. I've probably told you this story, Jody, but where he's telling me he couldn't get anybody. They figured they needed a $3,000 or $4,000 van to help them pick up some stuff,
yes.
And he couldn't get anybody interested, in anything. So he devised a plan where he came up with a whole ministry where they would need to have a van to transport different things and different stuff. And he figured it was going to cost about $20,000 to do it that way. He found all kinds of people willing to give to that. So people like to be involved with something that seems extraordinary.
Exactly.
That is, exciting.
Seems bigger than what they feel that they could accomplish on their own.
Right.
And so it's got to be something like that, which really leads us right into the second practical technique, which is to energize your base.
Right.
And these two kind of work hand in glove.
They do.
You've got to have that buzzworthy has to be something that's going to energize your base, but you've got to energize your base to bring something that's buzzworthy, to create that strategy that's going to be something that hey, this is something bigger than I could do on my own.
Right.
I need to engage you, and so we'll talk about engagement in just a little bit as well. But
and of course, all this stuff's so connected. I mean, just like all marketing is always, it's a big a bowl of spaghetti. But the thing is that if you can energize your base. Now, think about a postcard. You put out a postcard. I realize, that's maybe outside of the reach of some churches. Other churches, they've done direct mailings and flyer delivery. We've helped lots. I mean, we've helped a couple dozen churches, I think, in the Twin Cities. So, but the thing is, if you can create a piece that's buzzworthy, imagine how, and it's exciting to your congregation. So the flyer and this whole thing that you're creating for the fall programming is really exciting. So of course they're going to want to talk to their neighbors, their coworkers about it. It's exciting. It's an opportunity. So do you understand? No, it's not exciting to talk about how, your discipleship, 12-week discipleship program that you're starting this fall. When they get a postcard in the mail, you're not there. No one in your congregation is going to talk to their neighbor unless they're like really,
unless discipleship is their thing. Which is great. And in churches, okay, Nate and I are both pro discipleship. Don't get us wrong on this.
That's right. That's right.
We love discipleship. We love the church and all the things that it does, but we love the message of Christ. But at the same time, we understand marketing, and people who are in the community that are not a part of the church don't understand that stuff. And as church leaders, you've all gone through we've got to talk to people in the terms that they understand and all that kind of stuff, and definitely true. So all right, if discipleship is really where you're aiming, that's great, but how are we going to pitch this? How are we going to show this in a way that says, hey, we want to be involved with you? If you call it discipleship, the world, the community is going to scratch their head and say, what is that?
Right.
But if you say, hey, you know what, we're going to show you how to live a better life and how to be more productive and how to have happiness where you didn't have happiness previously, where we're gonna save those 10 families that we were talking about, Nate.
Yeah.
When we talk about it in terms like that, they go, oh, I want that. I want what we're doing.
Right.
I want what they're saying that they do. And so really what it is that they want is they want your discipleship, but they just don't know that that's what they want.
Yeah, I mean, and part of Buzz, is about packaging. And I think that's really what you're talking about, is how do you create it in such a way that it seems extraordinary, kind of like we talked about before.
Right.
And it's easy for people to want to get excited about it and to pass it on to other people. You have to create scenarios like that. So for a lot of pastors, that really requires them to think bigger than they're currently thinking.
Right.
Or certainly different. And so
Exactly.
I think, when we look at helping a lot of churches with their marketing, it isn't necessarily about opening up their billfold and spending tens of thousands of dollars.
Which we're happy to help them do.
And you can make a big impact in your community.
Huge.
In fact, I think a lot of churches will be surprised how much impact they can make in their community with a really strong strategy like this and spending $3,000 to $6,000, throughout the year. I mean, and really that's not that much money. So, yes, I mean, it's best if you can do all of those things together, because that's where you can create so much momentum.
Right. And we can show you, we can sit down with you at any point and we can show you how spending $3,000 to $6,000 will actually be able to generate more in return. Right. That's not really what the whole webinar is about right now. We'll tell you about that in a little bit, but we also want to give you just some great advice and some things that are going to help you where you don't have to spend that money. And so when we talk about that, creating the buzz and just energizing your base around that, that's really things that you don't have to spend a ton of money to do. It's more work on your part. Now, if you have money to spend, that will help to propel that.
Right. And exactly. Exactly. Marketing, and you're exactly right. Whether you're doing, those are all tools to help you get to the end. But you've got to start with a strong foundation in the first place.
Absolutely. Let's move along, Nate. All right, we've got a quote, I guess, one of our...
Oh, yeah, we got a couple of these in here.
Sure. This is just what people are saying about Street Smart Agency, Paperboy, flyers, and distribution. This one's from Sam at USI Wireless, and he says, they have quickly become an irreplaceable component to our marketing model. We are spending less than half what we were per lead. Yeah, and that's just, spending less money and getting a better result. Yay, we all like that. All right.
So let's talk about fall programming. We talked a little bit about what to do, your attendance and budgets down, where to go. Now let's get into some of the philosophy. I know you're really passionate about this, Jody, so I'll let you start here.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. First of all, it's got to be relevant. If you're gonna send that community out and just kind of like what we were saying with the discipleship, well, people don't even know what discipleship is. So it's got to be relevant. You have to package it in a way that says, hey, this actually applies to your life. You really actually do care about this. You don't know that it's called discipleship, but when we talk about saving 10 marriages, that's something that's part of making it relevant. Or whether it's, you're going to be covering Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University at your church. You're making it relevant to the community because you're giving them something that matters to them personally. So money, finances, management, parenting classes, any of those things, those are types of things that make it relevant. And that's the first thing. It's got to be something that makes a difference in somebody's life. And they're not, if they don't understand that Christ makes a difference in their life, they're not going to want to come and hear about Christ making a difference in their life because they don't understand that. So you've got to meet them where they're at.
Exactly. And I think for most of your churches and for a lot of the churches we've helped over the years, yes, I think you're hitting on some of those big ones, which is money, which is family.
Right.
So family would include marriage or working with your kids, parenting. Those are huge topics. And then, of course, we've had some success with different self-improvement type stuff, and so how that unfolds into discipleship. But you're right. Relevancy is what's in it for me.
Right. And let's move along here, Nate. We're trying to keep things relatively short for you because we know you've got a lot to do as well. Let's talk about engaging for a few minutes because, all right, so you've got something that's relevant to people and you bring them in your door, people from your community, and their finances are a mess. And so they've come out to take the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University class that you're offering at your church because they know that it's relevant to their life. But what do you do from there? Or, whether it's the marriage class or the parenting class, whatever it is, what do you do from there? Well, you've got to engage people. People, if they're coming to your church for a class, for fall programming, whatever it is, they're not necessarily loyal to your church. But you want them to be loyal to your church. How do you get them there? You engage them. And the church plants that I have been a part of, or the church launches that I have been a part of, I have seen time and time again, it is the churches that involve the people in what they're doing and in that vision, in that bigger image of what we're going to accomplish together. It's engaging people in that builds the loyalty. Yep. That's where they're going to go, all right, yes, I want to be a part of this. And they start to get excited about it. And you're starting to energize your base because now other people are coming in from in the community and they're getting engaged.
And that's what I love. Most of our customer base is for-profit businesses. So, but we get a chance to work with churches and nonprofits on a fairly regular basis. And, that's one thing that's always difficult to understand strategically for a lot of nonprofits is that really it's almost like they have two different bases. They have who they serve. I mean, churches, it's an interesting scenario too because they sort of have people that maybe are in the church and then they have the community, which oftentimes they're trying to serve in a different way or, differently.
Right.
But you're right. You have this engagement with your stakeholders. That's what we often talk about with other nonprofits.
Sure.
Is how do you, again, energize your stakeholders? How do you keep them communicated? How do you engage them? I mean, that's a perfect way to say it. And it's huge. And you're exactly right. I agree with you 100% in the sense that I've seen that too. That I've seen lots of nonprofits that had great ideas and churches.
Right.
And great thinking, different strategy, but they just never figure out how to engage people. And unfortunately, you're right. They fail usually.
And so we could probably put together a whole webinar on engaging people in different ways and ideas on how to engage people. But let us just tell you that you need to engage people. What you're doing needs to be compelling. All right, you've engaged them, you've gotten them involved. Now it's got to be compelling enough so that they're excited and energized to do it.
Right.
So you just because you're engaged in a workout routine doesn't mean that you're super excited to do that. If you can get that compelling, that desire to do it, then that's where it's really, that workout routine is really you're going to see some results off of it.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me, when I became a Christian, I mean, Jody, I didn't grow up in the church. And, I grew up in North Minneapolis. And here, when I became a Christian, I came to youth group because there were girls there.
Yep.
First and foremost.
That's
they had free food.
Pull.
Yeah, they had free food and they had games and stuff. So I went, anyway, all that just to tell you, when I did become a Christian, I started going to church and I saw all these people's lives being transformed. That was so compelling to me because it worked for me, but I'm looking around and I'm seeing it's working for other people, and it can be an incredibly powerful thing.
Absolutely. So that compelling piece needs to be there as well, and your community members need to experience that and see it in other people when they're in, once you've gotten them engaged. Last up here, we've got the fourth step is that it's contagious. Well, let me just say it this way. If you've engaged somebody and you've got them compelled, then the contagious is going to come pretty easily.
Right.
Then what we mean by the contagious is it's something that they're passionate about, that they want to talk about, they want to tell people about.
Right. You've got something that's buzzworthy. Going back to the first slides we had,
it's
easy to engage your people and easy to get them to have a lot of buy-in if it's something exciting. And It's the same thing. If you have people's lives who are being transformed and you've got some things that are relevant, it's going to be easy for them to share that with other people. And that fits so strongly with your marketing. You might say, well, why in the world are you guys talking so much about programming? Trust me, everything is connected.
It is all connected. It all comes back, and it really does come back to making sure, like we said in the beginning, that you're planning, you're creating that strategy, you're creating the plan on how you're going to connect the pieces, because when you don't connect one thing to the next is where you lose people. That's where people drop off. That's where they don't continue the cycle, and you don't continue to snowball or grow.
So how in the world, okay, I'm a pastor, I'm watching this, we're 20 minutes into this, and you're thinking, I don't know, I mean, sounds great. How do I actually make all this happen? And that's really part of what our offer is today. Let's switch over to the offer and show them what we've got for them. Oh, we've got one more good quote here for them.
All right, this one comes from Skip Crest over at Epic Life Church. And
we've done several deliveries for him now.
Excellent. He says, your services have been about 40% cheaper than comparable direct mail campaigns. To a pastor that needs to keep a keen eye towards budget, that is a huge difference.
Yep.
And that's really the thing that we try to keep an eye on and work with. And we understand that churches don't always have the budget built in, but in our offer, I think we'll show you a tremendous value here, because typically what we're offering typically runs for $499, and today for our webinar attendees, we're going to make an offer for 30 days of consulting for $99. And you're thinking, what am I going to spend $100 on?
Well, part of what you're really going to spend $100 on is a lot of what we just talked about, is getting everything set up in your church in the right way. And what we really focus on is the marketing. Now, all those different things we talked about today are connected to the marketing. But really the meat and potatoes of it are really those 1, 2, 3 things there. So it's an initial, really about a 2-hour consultation where we really open up where their church is and what their unique selling propositions are and positioning is and all kinds of different things that we'll look at with you. But then it also includes the weekly coaching session. So once a week we're going to go through, in fact, let me pull this up. We had this here. What we'll do is we actually will create,
Oh, you're good.
a custom form that we'll send you each week. And then really it becomes the basis of what we talk about. Now for churches it might look a little different because you guys don't usually think of things in terms of sales and AR. So we customize this for each customer.
Absolutely.
But it's very important to track things, and we realize that sometimes it's different goals. Sometimes it's personal things, like you can see on this one. There's weight and workouts and different things. So we realize that as a leader of your church, you need to be aware of where you're at personally and how you're doing with that. And so we'll help you track that, and then we'll bring that out, and you can even see as you're making progress in these different areas. We're going to be continuing to track that with you. And again, even with different personal things, we're even going to track it. And so part of it's accountability, part of it is just tracking and then seeing. But beyond that, what we do, this third thing is we have our marketing team here.
Oh, this is what excites me.
Yeah, so our marketing team.
Well, they all excite me, but I like this.
Yeah, our marketing team basically helps you accomplish these different things. So you have your coaching, you have those different components to it each week, but we also have our marketing team that's going to help you work on some different things on a monthly basis. And our normal price for this is $499 a month, and after the first month, I think we're going to be able to show you that that's really, really worthwhile for you as a church.
Absolutely.
So the $99 is just for the first month, and we're going to limit it to 5 people.
5.
Yeah,
that's all we can. 5.
Yeah, that's all we can do, and it's an incredible offer. Unfortunately, if you come in and you're the 6th person, I apologize. That's all we'll be able to do at this rate because it's so incredible. Is there anything else you wanted to say about the offer, Jody? I mean.
Well, I do want to say this. The consultation, I say that I'm excited about the marketing team, and I like that because there's not just one person working with you on this. There's an entire team saying, hey, let's pool our resources, pool our minds, and work together for an hour for this church and see what we can come up with and what ideas we can come up with. I really like that marketing team approach.
Yeah.
But the consultation is very important to me as well, because that's where we really get to know you, who you are, what's your heartbeat, what are you passionate about. As part of that consultation, we are going to we'll have you run through a personality profile so that we know how we can best work with you. We want you to get the absolute most out of this.
Well, yeah, our consultation, we usually charge $299 just for the consultation.
Oh, absolutely. And whether we're doing this for you, at the $99 rate or $299, or whether it's $499, we're spending our time. It takes the same amount of effort on our end. We want to make sure that you get the most out of it. And so we're not going to cheat you on that at all. But really super excited about this offer. Nate, I think on the last screen we've got just some different kind words that some other people have said about us. If people want to read through those, they're more than welcome to. But really, we just wanted to let you know about this offer. And again, that's going to be limited to the first 5 people that get back to us. So make sure you shoot us an email right away if you want to get in on that.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel like your church is stuck and you have where you want to be is not where you are now, there's a gap, that's really what we can help you do. We can help you get from where you are now to where you need to be. That's what we're good at. Call us or email us and we'll get you signed up. You have very little to risk here at $99, and really we're going to be able to help you get to the place that you need to get as a church.
By the end of the month, you will see that's $99 well spent. If it was $499, you would get to the end of the month and go, wow, best $499 I've ever spent.
Exactly.
Thanks so much for coming out. You guys have a great day. God bless.
God bless.